Good morning and welcome everyone to the Ultimate Trading Webinar for Beginners. My name is Danny and I will give you the webinar today. Everything seems perfect, and like I said, we're going to begin with an introduction to AvaTrade. As many of you know, we've been in the market for almost 2 decades. We have 9 licenses worldwide. Our customer service, in case you got any query or a question, can be found at the bottom left. As you can see under the chat icon right here, you can chat with us or use the WhatsApp, whatever way you prefer. And of course, if you're using a different interface, you can contact them directly through cs@avatrade.com. Apart from that, if you've got any questions about trading, so you can have a senior account manager assigned on your profile to give you full support through the process in terms of strategy, analysis, risk money management, and basically everything under the trading umbrella. And this service doesn't cost you anything as an addition. And of course, if you don't have a senior account manager yet, you can ask customer service for somebody to be assigned. So we're going to move, like I said, with the web trader, but I would also like to mention the other platforms that we have. So as you know, we've got the MetaTrader 4, we've got the MetaTrader 5. We're going to write down those. Just a second. And we do have the new AVA Futures, AVA Options, and lastly, AVA Social, which I would like to mention a couple of things about. One of them is, of course, that it gives you the ability to follow another trader. So basically, at the moment, if I'm a beginner and I'm not absolutely sure about what's going to be my next step or how I'm even going to do anything, so I can follow another trader. This gives me the ability to absorb information and do the research without to have to test it on my own, because then what will happen is, let's pretend that we're trader A, we're going to follow trader B. What will happen in this case? We're going to get notifications from the app. Again, it's called AVA Social. We're going to get notifications with the positions the trader B took. And then we can similarly take the same positions, or we can maybe use it for research purposes. But it's important to understand that with the follow function, we're not going to have the account, the positions are not going to open automatically. Okay, this is information coming in a form of a message, which requires us to trade. Okay, not require us to trade, but gives us the ability to trade. Copy from the other end is actually automatic trading, where the account will launch automatically by itself the positions based on trader B strategy. Now, when I'm using AVA Social, apart from a different copy trading concept, what I can do with AVA Social is I can also determine the difference in lot size. And that means that if, for instance, I see a strategy that I like, but the trader has a significantly bigger amount than mine, so naturally, the margin that he's using and the strategy that he's using might not be compatible with my accounts, with my account. In this case, what I can do is I can still copy the strategy, but I can copy the strategy with a lower lot size, which again gives me the ability to first examine if this is something that I want to go with, that I want to go ahead with or not. Then I can always extend to its full extent if I see that the results are satisfactory. So we're going to carry on with the webinar. Are there any questions regarding anything that I said so far about AVA Social or any other thing? If there is, feel free to fire away. So we've concluded those platforms at the moment, or the one that we're using, I actually didn't write down, but it would make sense to also explain that we have it in the app. So we've got the web trader, and we've got the Ava Trades trading app. Now that's how it's called. Used to be AvaGo, and at the moment we're going to carry on with the menus to the left, beginning from the top. So in here I can find my personal information. Underneath there is a question by Martin. Where can I find Ava Social? Is it separated app? Yes. To download, or is it integrated? The answer is yes. You can find it in your store on your smartphone. Okay, and that is basically how it works. And if you want a bit more thorough information, I suggest you'll go to our website, and in our website under trading platforms, you're gonna find a more extended explanation about the app. There is also a nice video about it, but I'd rather at this point just carry on with ease because I want to get to the second part as soon as possible. Where can I request? So like I said, Laricia, like I said, you can contact either customer service or the live chat for a senior account manager to be assigned. Okay. So first of all, thank you for taking the time to ask those wonderful questions. We're going to carry on with ease with the left menus, with the left-hand side menus. So like I said, at the top, we've got those 3 lines. In there, I can find my personal information, deposit and withdraw. Underneath is trade. We are where we are, right? Trade, a neat shortcut to get back to here from any other screen on the website is just to click on the icon at the top. So for instance, if I'm here and I'm doing my whatever I'm doing and I want to quickly go back into the chart and trade, so I can click here on the icon and then I'm back to the default. Sometimes it looks like this. If I keep going down, then I've got this suitcase with the positions, and in here I've got the orders, and in here I've got the history, and in the history field what I need to do to make that my, if this is blank but I know that I trade, what I can do is I can click on the calendar, then I can go back, just giving you an example here, to wherever I want to specifically measure date, and then I select, and then when I select the calendar and I see that the range is correct, then it will be displayed. Moving down, we've got here the signals. So I don't want to put too much time into that, but we're going to briefly just okay, so if it looks like this, as you can see, there are 2 arrows here at the upper right. What this does is it minimizes the chart. So both cases, look, if I click, it folds down. Then I have here this, it's a bit difficult to see because the layout is dark, but I have this toggle here that allows me to drag up and down to customize the chart to my needs. So if I'm going to keep it like this, and I'm going to select whatever is here at the top, just to understand how the signal works. The first one are blank. So we're going to select Dow Jones, and we're going to take US 30 instead, right? Dow Jones. So we're going to click here on View Signal, and then we're going to move forward. But before we're going to do that, I want to quickly speak about just the layout of how it's constructed. So in here we've got a list with all the signals. So we've got the newest one. We're going to carry on down, and in here we're going to have the oldest one. So from new to old, downwards, and we're going to speak. Don't worry about what we're seeing here, which is a bit different. We see that we don't have any stop loss or take profit in this case. It's fine. We're going to speak about it. we've got here the type, stop loss, entry, price, take profit, and the view signal. So we're going to click on view signal, and then we're going to click on the two arrows to expand the chart all the way up. If the picture to the right doesn't match to what we're seeing here, the main reason is we're not looking at the same time frame. So what does 1M means? Don't worry, guys, we still haven't started the second part, the practical part, but it's important for me that you'll understand the functionalities of the signal. So I'm just throwing some bits of trading to get more familiar with the concept. For people who are a bit more experienced, just enjoy. So if the picture doesn't make sense, it doesn't look the same, that is because the time frame we're looking at is different than in here. You can see that the validity here is daily. So each candle here is supposed to be daily candle. In here, each candle is 1 minute. So we're going to click here at the top left corner. We're going to click, fold it down. In here, we've got 1M, 5M, 15M, 30M. And if I scroll down, we've got hours, then days, weeks, and months. So if we're going to select the 1D, similarly to here, we're going to get a bit more similar picture. We're going to click here at the column price, click and drag it down. Then we're going to click on the chart and drag it down as well. Then we can scroll down with a wheel on our mouse and we get a much more similar picture to what we saw in here. We can similarly place the lines and do further analysis, but we ain't gonna do that now since we're having a webinar and we're not learning how to do analysis. So in this case, we're gonna fluently keep moving forward. But before we do that, let's go back to where we were. Okay, and let's suppose we're just using the signal, plain and simple. We're going to click once, and then we're going to select which scenario we want. Maybe we'll go with the buy. Click here on the buy, and we're good. We're good to go. There's nothing more to it. We're going to click on the arrows, yeah, and we can launch the signal just like that. Of course, as I have explained, there are many more additional layers. We can modify the lot size. We can even modify the stats here. Maybe if we want to extend any of the values, we can make a lot of modifications. In the previous page, we can even place similarly the lines here. And what else? I can leave some notes here for support and resistance. I can do a lot of things. If I don't want to use the signal just like that, but I wanna also enhance it with my own analysis. So of course I can do a lot of things. You're moving too fast. Yes, I know. I apologize, Frank, that I'm moving too fast. But remember that the point of this past 50 seconds is to show you how to use the signal, not to teach analysis. So I'm doing it briefly on purpose. Okay, just to show how to use the signal. Later on, we will we'll dive to it. Okay, great. So we saw that to use the signal, it takes 3 clicks. Perfect. Just to understand how the signal works, let's suppose that I did go with the buy and I did let's keep it like this for now, but we're gonna place the lines based on the values we've got here to help understand what will happen if we're gonna use the signal as it is. So we are with 1 day, that's fine. Maybe even switch to 1 hour to help see the take profit a bit clear. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna draw a green rectangle since we are with a buy to help emphasize the profit area, and we're gonna have a red rectangle to help emphasize the allegedly loss area. So we're gonna have 2 values in here based on the take profit and the stop loss. What this gives us is basically what this gives us is basically to understand what is going to happen in this scenario. So if we're going to use the signal as it is, as we can see, we have two things here. Take profit, what it does is it closes the position automatically with the profit. Hence, if it gets to 42,960, the position will be closed automatically with the profit. Thumbs up. If it gets down to 42,775, we're going to lose $21. Okay, so in this case, we have two automatic orders that doesn't require us to spend a minute on the chart once we've launched it like this. Again, we always can sit in front of the chart and enjoy this live moving chart, but what the pending orders are giving us is the ability to automate our trading. Not to automate a trading like automatic trading when I copy someone, but to have a pending order that depends on the value that I select. So I can define where I want to stop it with a profit and where I want to stop it with a loss. What the signal is giving us is exactly that. And we can use the signal without the need to place those by ourselves. Okay, we can, but we don't have to. Now we're going to select one of the blanks one to understand what is the difference. We're going to go with crude oil. So just click view signal. We can also see that there is no take profit or stop loss for crude oil. Click here on view signal. Then again, we have the chart displayed. We're going to try this time to click on the sell, but we're going to see it's not going to let us move forward. The reason is the market has already reached a key level. So we're going to try anyway. But there is no take profit and no stop loss for us to use, because the market has already exceeded the levels that we expected it to get, those levels that are displayed in here. We're going to move forward because, as I said, I want to get to the second part, practical part, as sooner the better. Still, if there are any questions at this point, fire away. Feel free, fire away. Any questions about the signals or anything else, feel free. We're going to carry on down. So this also should be considered under the umbrella of technical analysis. As I always say, there are two types of analysis. So we've got technical analysis and fundamental analysis. And the way that this works is very, very simple. Technical analysis will be the just a second. We're going to have here types of analysis. Technical analysis will be the averages, statistics. We also have different pivot points and support and resistance. I promise that I'll speak about support and resistance, guys, but just not now. Fundamental analysis will be the, let me extend it a little bit. And then fundamental analysis will be our news, articles, announcements, reports, all kind of things that are not in the market but outside the market. So basically, fundamental analysis will be the reason, right? Reason, or maybe why things are moving. But the technical analysis will be the how, right? Now, a very common question people ask me is, what is more important to focus, fundamental or technical analysis? But if I know how things are moving, but I don't know why they are moving, basically I don't have the reason to base my analysis upon, right? And if I know the reason, but I'm not familiar with the statistics and support and resistance, it might be problematic for me to understand where it can turn around and so on. So it's, to my opinion, it's important to have both balanced, and it's good to have them both at a proper level. And for that, because we saw the signals, which are technical analysis based, And it's important to also know that they are provided to us by the Trading Central. They're not created by AviTrade, as you can see right here. Then I want to show you the news section as well. So we're going to click on the news section, and in here we've got the for the fundamental analysis part, we've got here the analysis. We can see that the pre-European market brief, the USD index broadly flat, the US inflation in focus. Now, if I'm gonna go down, scroll down like that till the end, at the bottom of this article, we've got here 4 related instruments, and they are crude oil, gold, Bitcoin, pound versus dollar. And in this case, this can help me understand what will be fluctuative because of what we're reading here. Furthermore, we have different categories, of course. Furthermore, if I'll go down to this globy icon, this discovery icon, underneath, we've got all kind of useful things. So one of the things that I like to use is also Market Buzz. And in Market Buzz, I can find inspiration to what to analyze very quick. As you can see, we also have here different categories. We can click on cryptos, currencies, commodities, and indices. In this case, we're going to stay with the stocks for the time being. We can have it aligned like a table if we don't want to have the bubbly thing that we saw. But I like it like this. It just think a bit more fun to see. So we can see the Tesla is right in the middle with 3,440. Maybe we'll select it. And right away, we have different parameters in here, which we can go through. In here, we have the different various articles. We can also filter that. We've got product release, rating inflation and positive, price target lowered, price target raised, and price target set. We're going to go with the product release. Is this naturally what I will be interested in specifically? And then I can specifically go through the articles and get more knowledgeable before before I take any action. There are different parameters in here. Again, the same as I said for the when we were looking at the signals. I don't want to delay about it too much. So if there are any questions at this stage, feel free to fire away. I can just as easily go back like this with the arrow, then again, select something else. You can see how easy that is. Underneath, we've got the calendar. Just a second, guys. Okay, so if we carry on down, we can see that almost at the bottom of this list, we've got the economy calendar. The economy calendar, what it allows us to do is to get more familiar with more official things like reoccurrence announcements, all this kind of reports. Let me first clean the selection. If you came to the calendar and it looks like this, everything is grayed out. You gotta pay attention to the selection on your calendar. So for instance, we're gonna click, first of all, we're gonna click here on reset to reset everything. And then we're gonna click on today because we can see what was selected is actually the 6th. There is a question from Rian. Can you share a recording of the meeting afterwards? Of course. As I said, Rian, the recording can be found in our YouTube channel. Yeah, of course. Like I said, I know that I'm moving fast. But I also know that it's recorded, so I know you guys can watch it again later. Okay, so as you can see, we are actually selected on the 6th. So of course, we're not gonna see anything relevant because this is from the 6th. So all of this is super old. We're gonna click here on the 11th and then we can extend the selection. Okay, we're gonna click again and then we can extend the selection. Once you have this blue circle on your date, you know that you selected the right thing, and then you can click again to create this blue trail on the dates, and you know that, okay, those are the dates that we selected. And if we scroll down like this, we see a lot of things that are not necessarily relevant to our portfolio. So sometimes what I want to do is to focus on specific things, maybe on the ZOR and maybe on the yen and maybe on the CAD. Okay, and then when I've got South Africa, Canada, and Japan selected, now we can see only events related to what we've selected. And we've got this red line at the top, and we see that those things are grayed out. And why? Because they already happened. We've got this red line here separates the segment, and we can see that the actual appears. Now, this tells us that those events happen because we've got the results. We can also filter it by how strong this event will impact the market. So we can see that we've got high, medium, and low. At the moment, we've got 2 high impact events, but let's suppose that we don't want to see all those low and actually, let's filter the medium. I want you guys to see the difference. So let's suppose we want to focus only on the medium, and we've only got 1. Okay, great. You see, so this way you can work a bit more efficiently with the economic calendar, and I'll also recommend you guys specifically to use the button in here for the calendar. So to the right, we've got here impact, and we've got volatility, and we've got price chart and event chart, and add the calendar. Okay, we can see here is how powerful we think that the housing start will affect the market. In here we've got the result. In here we've got the forecast. At the moment we don't have it. Okay, this is the forecast, and oh, it filtered the countries as well. Well, the attention here, okay, was to show you. Okay, there we go. So we've got the forecast, which gives us the range. We've got the last result, and we've got the result that will only take place when the event appears. Now, what I wanted to show you guys is the add to calendar. This is just a button, right? But it's a huge time saver. And why? Because if I click on the calendar, I can actually book that event to my personal calendar. And then instead of thinking when this event will take place during the day, if I'm busy at work or anything else, I can have a personal reminder on my phone for this event to see the results. And then I can specifically go to the market and do the analysis. This is why I like it so much. And of course, I recommend you guys to use it as well, depending on which calendar you're using. All right, we're gonna carry on to the second part. Finally, guys, we got to the practical part, and for that, we're gonna have an instrument to analyze. We're gonna get rid of all those things we wrote down. Well, maybe the majority of the things. This one, we're gonna leave it as it is. And let's select one of the instruments from the lists. So in here, we've got the categories. We've got also, maybe we'll go with cryptos today. And we will go with maybe Ethereum. And then we're going to click here on the arrows to expand, and we're going to click on the column price, squeeze it down like this, and then we're going to click on the time frame and change it from 1 hour all the way to 1 month. Okay, got some interesting things here. Excellent. And in this, but I want to start from scratch, so clear drawing. And now we're going to go through quickly the toolbar, and we're going to get moving. So we've got here the name of the instrument. This is actually a search bar. What I can do in this case is I can type down whatever I want, select it from the list, and right away I am with gold. It's important to understand that if I'll click here buy or sell, the order entry will open. In this case, if I switch to a different instrument, Ethereum as an example, we're going to click on Ethereum and here we are. However, make sure that the right order entry is displayed. For that, we again need to click buy or sell, and here we are. Okay, so to the left, we've got here the time frames. We're gonna click again to see 1 minute, all the segment of minutes, hours, days, weeks, and months. Maybe switch to weeks in this case. And we're gonna click on the column price, click and drag it down. Then we're gonna zoom out a bit. Okay. And this should be enough. Okay. If I keep going to the right, we have here the different various layouts. In here, we've got bars, candles, or line. We learned many times that if we go with the traditional line, we might not get the candles information to its full extent. As you can see, I have placed, maybe use an oval. I'm going to place an oval here at the tails of the candle, just to show you what is the difference between the line to the candle, since this is also one of the most common questions. What is this primitive line? So as you can see, the line gives you the general idea and how fluctuative the instrument is, but it doesn't give you the full extent to what levels Ethereum has gotten to. Because if I look at here, you see all those ovals that we've marked doesn't have the indication that we had from Japanese candlesticks, right? The line is just giving us the general shape, but it doesn't specify the same depths of levels we've got from the candles. As you can see in here in the oval, it turned around. Same in here, same in here. It turned around in those three occurrences. So those bits of information we don't want to miss. Now, the third thing that I did is I enabled the crosshair, clicking here on the arrow, clicking on crosshair. Now we do get the data, which we didn't before. Okay, without the crosshair, with the crosshair. Now in here we can split the layout to the various other instruments. In here we've got the indicators. We're going to use it in a moment anyway. And in here, with this arrow pointing down, I can place all kind of useful things to help me visualize my analysis a bit better. So in this case, we can have a price line, place it in here at the top. Can have another price line, place it in the middle. Have another one, place it at the bottom, and another one at the very bottom, which helps me understand support and resistance for Ethereum a bit better. In this case, what are support and resistance? Support and resistance are edge points displayed on the chart to help us understand where the instrument can potentially turn around or have turned around in multiple occasions. We can see the 2157 was a very strong support line that wasn't breaked until recently. When I say recently, I speak about 2.5 months. But we can see that it didn't go any lower than that until March. Okay, 3 months ago. Not 2, 3 months ago. Okay, and before that, as you can see, that was more than a year ago. Okay, excellent. In this case, how is this useful for us anyway? Because eventually we want to make money out of Ethereum. We're going to click here on the buy to enable the order entry. There is a question here. Is it possible to add MA to RSI indicator? So the MA indicator on the general chart, but on RSI. I'm not sure that you can do it like this, but what you can do is you can click on indicator, put relative strength index, click and drag it to the right, and then customize the value. Okay, that's basically what I would do if I would want to use it. Now, in this case, since we see that Ethereum is generally in a buy trend, well, it's been, let me just show you this nice V shape we've got in here. So we've got a trend channel, we've got another one the other way around. So I can assume Platinum is roughly in the middle of the way. It's a bit difficult to say if it's going to go up or down, of course, but at least we have an idea of what this scenario is. So in this case, we're going to carry on with a buy since I think it would make sense. Will you teach? Okay, so Frank, you're asking an amazing question. If I will teach how to place those lines. Unfortunately, no. This will be at the end of the webinar, but I will try and explain the logic of how I've placed those lines. I'm not going to teach. We don't have time for that. That's the only reason. Okay, but at the moment, let's try to carry on. So we've got the current value, it's 2,767, and we are intending to buy. So we're going to put the name of the instrument we're analyzing, that's Ethereum. Okay, and in this case, we are looking at a buy, and we're looking to buy at 2,767. And I am hoping to close it where? At 3,300, right? Okay, so this will be our, let's see, I think it's bothering us. This will be a bit far away, so I'd rather take just a second, guys, really just few moments. Okay, so let's suppose we're going to target at the moment the 3,300. Okay, and we are where we are, 2,768. Let's maybe flatten that out a little bit. Okay, and let's see how far away. And at the moment, we're going to target this to be our, of course, we're going to make some adjustments. Don't worry, it doesn't stay like this. There is a logic behind my selection. But at the moment, we're going to take those values. So the buy is going to begin entry. Okay. And we're going to have, as we've already learned what take profit and stop loss are from the signals. And we noticed, okay, and we saw that the take profit, what it does is it closes the position automatically with a profit, and stop loss, it stops the position automatically with a loss. Okay, great. In this case, we've got two values. We've got 3,307 and 2,736. Okay, we still don't exactly know what they mean, but we're going to see very soon. In this case, we're going to also think about the amount that we're planning to make. Let's target the correct number. Okay, and we're going to aim to make on this position. Wait, something doesn't make sense, but now it does. Excellent. So we're going to look at the numbers we've got here, and we're thinking about taking a buy, targeting the green line. Okay, it kind of makes sense with the structure that we seen here. It did get to that level when, let's see. It's been there around half a year ago, I would say, and it's roughly a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks away in theory. But how we can validate this, how we can validate that this level is indeed something reasonable to aim for. Maybe it's too far away. Maybe it's by the time that I wanted to get to here, maybe it will even turn around. So how can we do it? One of the ways to validate if this current value is something reasonable to aim for is to look at statistically at the last time that it's been there and compare the levels. So I see that when it was around those levels between November and January, almost every week it went across those levels, almost every week. So if it passes that segment, I have a reason to believe that it might fluctuate around those levels before moving forward. Okay, there is a question here: what are pips and how to count them? So basically, pips are percentage in points. Okay, and this is a pip basically. Always remember 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so basically the way that it works, if you take 1 pip, that's 10 cents. When you take 0.1, each pip will equal to $1, and so on and so on. I really don't want to delay about this at this point. I really don't want to, because I want to finish the composition here for people to understand how to construct a position with a certain logic. But I assure you that if you will go to our YouTube channel or even browse through our library of videos, you will have a much thorough explanation that what I just gave. I don't want to delay about it, unfortunately. All right, so as we can see at the moment, we've got those values and we want to validate that they are real values, values that we can aim for, and it's not going to take too long and we're not going to have it turn around before getting there. So one of the ways, as we've learned, is to compare the statistics of the levels that it fluctuated across. Another way to do it is just simply look at the differences in candles and start doing the math, taking an average of how much it can move. Now, this is a very complex process that requires a bit of understanding in mathematics. What we can do instead is we can click on indicators, and in indicators in target to filter, we're going to type AVE to bring up the average true range, click and drag it to the right, and then we can choose how many candles we want to withdraw our average from. In this case, since we're looking at weeks, I think 2 months is enough. So we're going to select 8. Since we're looking at weeks, it will be 8 weeks. And we're going to change the color to something else. And now we've got $377 that Ethereum is moving occasionally per week. So we're going to type here a few things: target, time, movements, and units. And we're going to start filling up those ingredients. And in movements, it's price difference. And in units is the quantities. Okay. Now, target, let's set the target. We have $10,000. I think that to make in a week 500 might not be too bad. The time length, 1 week, I can live with it. I can live with it. We'll see how far away we are from the target. Then we'll see if 1 week is realistic. We might need to make adjustments. And the movement, I'm going to write here ATR equals 377 based on 8. okay, based on 8 weeks. And our target, how far away that is, let's compare it with the average. So we're going to take the target that we set. We're going to see how far away we are from the entry. So that's $540 from our entry. And we saw that the average movement per week is 377. Therefore, my question to you guys, let me write it down. And also do the same thing with, let's put the entry here. Okay. We're also just a second. Okay. So statistically, if we're looking at 377 per week, and we are how far away are we? 540 or 610. Okay, so how many weeks approximately we're going to need for those values to take place to get to either one of those values? If this is 377 per week, so how many we need to get to 540 or 610? How many we need statistically only? It's not a linear movement, but let's suppose if we would realistically look at the range, right? 1 week. Okay, so this is 1 week equals 377. Therefore, 2 weeks equals who knows how much? Again, it's important to know that the market doesn't work like that. Okay, it doesn't move in a straight line. So what I can say is even 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, so let's say 2 weeks at the moment, but we understand that it can be even more. And I would also want to adjust this. Just a second. Yes, definitely I would want to adjust the difference to be 500. So let's make it 500 because I don't want to take the exact value that we took. I want to take it a little lower. So we're going to have a bit more room to maneuver. 3267. So that's 3267. Okay, great. We're going to also have our area here. And we're going to do the same thing the other way around. Okay, so we're going to have another 500 down. So we're going to have the entry minus 500. That's excellent. Okay, not really. Maybe now. 2267. There we go. And in here, we're also going to adjust the levels. This was 3267, so 3267. And in here, the same. 3267, and in here, 2267. So this is 500 each and 500 each. Great. And now we've got actual expected price difference is 500 from entry. Excellent. Great, great. Now what we need to do, the only thing that we're missing is the units. So to find the units, what we can do is we can go and target divided by movements equals units. In this case, if we're going to divide 500 by 500, guys, how many Ethereum we need? Who knows? Who will be the genius to give me the right answer? I'm going to give you 5 seconds to answer, guys, then I will reveal the answer. How much is 500 divided by 500? Good job, Mitchell. Good job. So 1. Let's see if 1 will really lead us to where we want to be. Just a second. Yeah, it's already here. It's already happening, guys. You see, we can potentially make almost 500 if I'll flatten the difference from our spread. So we're just going to quickly adjust this to be 70 and this to be okay. In this, oh, sorry, that's 78. And both of our rectangles are gone, but that's fine. So in this scenario, very, very simple. We can make or lose 500, and we've got a full composition in this case, which we validated the values with our indicator. So let's quickly recap what happened here for people who feel that it happened a bit too fast. In the beginning, we looked at the general scenario. General scenario for Ethereum, for what we saw in the beginning, was like this, and then like that. Okay, so we've got all those up and downs. It's nice up and downs, but eventually it started climbing back up. So we are only focusing on the last segment in this case, even though we compared statistically that it's been on those levels half a year ago. But at the moment, if I'm looking at the general trend, it does seem like a buy. After placing support and resistance and made comparison between the differences of what level it can get to, we've decided to target 3,267. And now we can see that to get to there, if I'm looking at the statistically movement for Ethereum, it might not be in a week, it might take even more, since the average movement for a week is only 377 when we're hoping to get 500. Okay, 500 what? $500. From where? From the entry. To where? To the take profit. Same apply with the stop loss. We took the same reference. Now, the only problem that I have with that is because I'm not happy to jeopardize and make the same amount. So this 5%, I would like them to be adjusted to maybe half of that, 2.5%, or maybe even 1.25. So how can we do it? Very easily. Since we're looking at the equation that looks like this: movements times units equals possible profit or loss. What I can do is I can go and divide, as we said in here, and I can divide the same value, 500 divided by 2, to get 250. And then I can do the same multiplier we did in here. So that's 200 times 1, since we only got 1 unit. That gets us 250. Okay, another thing that we can do is we can look at the stop loss that we wrote, and the more we will get it to our entry, the less we are going to lose. This is why I have placed those green and red rectangles to help you understand. When we are with a buy, our intention is that the value will increase. Therefore, in the green rectangle, as long as it will proceed going up from our entry, we'll make more and more profits. We'll make more and more profits. With the red area here, with the red rectangle, the lower it gets, the more we're going to lose. In this case, if I want to lose possibly less, what I need to do is to click here on the plus and get the stop loss closer onto my entry. For instance, if I'll cut down the length we took by half, and instead of 500, we're only going to take we're only going to take half of that. So that means 250 from the entry. We're going to see that, let's also paste it here. We're going to see that now the possible loss is also half. And now we can maintain, this way we can maintain the profit that we designed to make, but we have an exposure of half. We have an exposure of half. One thing to say, as I said in the disclosure in the beginning, the values and the proportions that I'm using at the moment are not specific recommendations for you guys to use. Those things can be, they are flexible and they can be manipulated to suit to your plan perfectly. Okay, I use generic figures in here just to convey the message, but this can be modified to suit perfectly like a tailor-made strategy. Okay, apart from that, the only thing that I want to say before we say goodbye is to show how to make sure that we have the ability to take the position in here. Maybe the position is too big, maybe it's too small, who knows. So let's see how we can do it. As you can see, the price per Ethereum is 2,773. So price per unit is 2,773. In this case, the number of units is 1, and we're gonna go number of units times units. Sorry, let's begin from price per unit times number of units equals value. We already have that. So then we're gonna go value. So we also gonna write the leverage in here. So that's 1, 2, 2. Okay, and what the leverage does is it multiplies buying and selling. That means that because we've got a leverage of 1, 2, 2, our ability will be double. It doesn't multiply the money in my account or anything like that. What it does is it gives me the ability to take a bigger position with the same balance. Okay, now if I look at the 1, 2, 2 that's written here, basically what it means is that instead of 2,773, I need half. Okay, exactly what's written here. So if I'm gonna go value divided by leverage, it gives me the margin weak in here. Okay, well, it's different semantics, but means the same thing, requirement or impact. And in both cases, necessary amount to open the position. All right. If there are any questions, guys, our time is up, but I am willing to stay for a minute or two to answer any questions you may have. If there are any questions about the process or anything that I said so far, feel free to fire away. Okay, Gina, you're asking, so basically we can delete the numbers and use it for something else? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, Gina. That's exactly the purpose of me teaching you this. This is a universal procedural technique and not something specific for Ethereum. So you can do exactly that. You can delete the numbers, of what I wrote here, and you can use the system for something else that you like. Yeah, of course. Anytime, guys. I hope that this webinar was helpful and you could pick up some practical things to help you move forward with trading. And like I said, a recording will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. You're all welcome to join us with tomorrow's live Q&A. Thank you for joining us today. Until then, best of luck with trading and have a good day.